Hello, everybody. It's Andrea, and welcome to this edition of Talks in the Car. So, I have a question for you today. Have you ever had something in your life that you desperately wanted? And you wanted it so badly to the point where not having it may have caused you some distress, may have caused you some discouragement, may have even made you sad at times, discouraged. But in all of that, it didn't change the fact that you still wanted it. It didn't change the fact that you were going to work and strive and press in order to achieve it. It could be you desperately wanted to go back to school. It could be that you desire a home of your own. It could be you want a particular car that you just absolutely love. Ladies, maybe it's that designer pair of shoes or a handbag that you really like. Perhaps some of you all want to be married. You want a husband or a wife to share your life with. Perhaps it's children. Perhaps you've had some difficulties conceiving or yielding seed to your spouse, and you want desperately to have children, and you're doing all the medical things in order to achieve in addition to your family. Whatever that looks like for you, has it ever been so strong, that tug, that pull, that desperateness? But no matter how you feel, no matter how long it's taken, no matter what it looks like, that desire has not gone away. That tug has not gone away. You still desire it. It could be something that you have been looking to deal with for years. You've been looking for years to go back to school. It's been years that you've been trying to perhaps fix your credit so that you can buy that home. You've gone through months and years of fertility treatments in order for you to have that child. You've been searching and praying and waiting for God to reveal that spouse, and it's been a long time, but that desire has not changed within you. And I'm sure we all have experienced that one thing that we feel like we want to give up, but we continue to hold on. We continue to desire. We continue to hug on and not let go of. So with that being said, let's talk about having a Hannah faith. So the question first that we must answer is, who was Hannah? Well, what does it mean to be a Hannah or to have a Hannah faith? And Hannah, in the Old Testament, was a woman who desperately wanted to have a child. She was married to a gentleman who had another wife, and they had children together. And not to have children was a burden. Not to have children back in those biblical times was a dishonor. And so she desperately wanted to have a child for herself. She desperately wanted to give her husband a child, but her womb was closed up. She couldn't have a child. So what Hannah would do is she would go to the temple and she would pray and she would beseech God, and she would prostrate herself before God, asking desperately to have a child. But the wonderful thing about Hannah was that in her praying, people could see her lips moving, but they couldn't hear her words. This was a conversation and a dialogue between her and God. It was private. It was so desperate. It was so heavy on her heart that she didn't want to share it. She just wanted to share it with God. So one day while she was in the temple and she was praying, here comes along the prophet Eli, and he sees her, and he sees her mouth moving. And he assumes that perhaps that she has been drinking or that something is wrong, and he asks her, what's going on? And kind of questions her state of mind and maybe her sobriety. And she says, no, I am seeking God. I am petitioning God. And to that response, he speaks over her life, and he speaks in her life, petitioning and agreeing with her prayer that God would give her the desires of her heart. And the one thing that Hannah said, and she promised God, and she made this vow, that if God were to give her a child, that she would give that child back to God. And so as time went on, God gave her a miracle. God blessed her, and God blessed her with a son. And as her son was done weaning and got older, she remembered what she vowed to the Lord, and she took her son Samuel to the temple, gave her son to Eli, and was allowing him to raise her son so that he could know the ways of the Lord. She literally gave her son back to God. He didn't live with her. He lived with the prophet. So the question that I have for you today is, are you in a place where you are ready to apply a Hannah faith? We don't know how long Hannah had been praying. We don't know how many times she visited the temple. We don't know how many tears fell from her eyes over this desire. We don't know that, but what we do know is that her desperateness, her determination, her hunger, her eagerness for her desire to be manifested never went away. She never gave up on God. She never decided that it hasn't happened, I'm done. She decided that she was going to remain on her knees. She was going to remain with her heart prostrated to God until he moved in her favor. A Hannah kind of faith. So once again, get in your mind that thing, that desire that you want from God. Get it in your mind and think about whether or not you have a Hannah faith where you will stand still. You will stand in the position of faith until God manifests that miracle in your life. Until God opens up the bank so that you can buy that home, buy that car, get that designer shoe or handbag that you want. Where you're going to stand in faith and stand firm until God sends that wife, sends that husband, allows for the seeds to connect so you can have that child. Hannah waited for her womb and her husband's seed to join together so they could make that baby. Are you desperate enough to try God? Are you desperate enough in your faith, in your knowing that God can, in your faith to know that God will move on your behalf? Do you have a Hannah faith? And with that being said, a Hannah faith sometimes means that you can't share that with everyone. You can't tell everyone your deepest, darkest, innermost prayers. You can't share that with everyone. And if you do share it, you have to be very, very selective, very, very deliberate, because everybody is not going to be cheering you on. Everybody is not going to support you. Everybody is not going to celebrate with you. So you have to be selective with who you share. And if you can't find somebody to share that with, then the only person that you can share with is the Lord. need to have that private conversation with God to let him know, God, I'm desperate for you. I'm desperate for you to move. I'm desperate for you to send me favor. I have a good friend, and she's struggling with some health concerns, and there's some fear in there because she's dealt with a particular health issue before, and it's uncertain what's happening right now. But in that, I marvel at her faith. She is in belief, and she is standing on God, that regardless of what happens, she knows that God is going to work a miracle in her life, that God is going to work in her favor, that God is going to heal her body. And she is standing in her unwavering Hannah faith that God is going to do what he promised he would do. So on today, let's have a Hannah faith. So I want you to do this for me. I want you to get that one thing that you desperately want. It may not have to be as spiritual. It could really be just a desire, something simple that you may want. Like I said, a pair of shoes, a car, a designer bag. That's not necessarily spiritual. That's just something that we want, and that's okay. But if you're standing on that and that's what you desire, and you would love God to do that for you and to have that special gift and to have something special, stand on that. If you're looking to have a child, stand on that. If you're looking for a home or a car or to go back to school, if you're looking for a way to write that book, to start that business, stand on God. Stand on his promise. Don't waver. Don't doubt. Don't give up. If you're looking for a spouse, you want to be married, you want to be one with someone, stand firm on your belief that God is going to align you with that special someone. Have a Hannah faith. Stand like Hannah, that no matter what it looks like, no matter what circumstances may seem like, that you are going to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. That you're going to stand firm, and that you are standing there knowing, not speculating, but knowing that God is going to do it for you. Oftentimes we think that while we know God can do, we don't always subscribe to the fact that God will do for us. And so we have to be in that form of faith, in that Hannah faith, knowing that what we are believing God for, what we are petitioning God for, what we are speaking in our hearts, what we are speaking out of our mouth, what we are saying to God in prayer is going to produce fruit. It's going to produce the miracle that we are asking for. Hannah faith. Stand like Hannah. Prostrate in your spirit, prostrate in your mind, believing, asking, petitioning God for what you want, but knowing that he is going to do it for you. You have an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll see you next time on Talks in the Car.